Primary balance. If you recall, in 2025, when they presented the budget for that year, the minister did what we call voodoo analysis of arrears by asking every MDA to bring arrears even when they were not recognized by the Ministry of Finance. He put together about 67 billion Ghana cedis. If you recall, we told you and the people of Ghana that what the minister was doing was propaganda. As a result of the inclusion of those arrears in the budget, the fiscal outturn was distorted. In fact, in the 2025 budget, the minister reported that the primary fiscal deficit was 3.9% for 2024. He did this so that he could undermine the previous government. 3.9%, not the overall fiscal. 3.9%. In the 2026 budget statement, the minister revised it to 3.1%. The same 2024 primary deficit revised from 3.9% to 3.1%. In this mid-year review, the minister has again revised it to 2.9%. Ghanaians can now see that these governments are just interested in propaganda. How can primary deficit for 2024 move from 3.9% to 3.1% and now to 2.9%? This confession is not by accident. It is because the minority kept telling the world that this government was misinforming the people of Ghana. And this confession is coming immediately after another confession by the Bank of Ghana governor, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, in which he alluded to the fact that the financing of the gold board was inappropriate. It was misappropriation of funds, it was misuse of funds, as a result of which they recorded losses of about $900 million. The governor of the Bank of Ghana now confessed that it was a bad decision, and therefore the Bank of Ghana has discontinued with the financing of the gold board. This is what we thought the minister should be talking about, because it is his policy that led to the establishment of the gold board that has occasioned these huge losses to the state. And the minister didn't mention anything in relation to that throughout the review. Let's look at the debt size. Ghana's debt stock at the end of 2024 was 720.7 billion Ghana cedis. In October 2025, when the minister presented the 2026 budget, he boasted that they have reduced the debt stock from 720.7 billion Ghana cedis to 630.2 billion Ghana cedis. The minister boasted about this. And because of that, they were efficient managers of the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, as of May 2026, May this year, Ghana's debt stock stood at 720.8 billion Ghana cedis. So the 720.7 that the minister condemned, we handed over to them, which they reduced to 630.2 billion, is today back to 720.8 billion Ghana cedis. Ladies and gentlemen, what they were supposed to have saved in terms of the reduction in the debt stock was 90 billion Ghana cedis. Today, they have brought back to the debt stock 90 billion Ghana cedis. Exactly what they said they have reduced in our debt stock. And this excludes the almost $1 billion they brought to Parliament for Parliament to approve this week. If you were to add that, then it will mean that Ghana's debt stock, in terms of the addition they have made to the debt stock, will be in excess of 100 billion Ghana cedis. And so, ladies and gentlemen, of all the costs that we incurred as a people to bring stability in the city, the sterilization cost, which they attributed as the basis for the decline in the debt stock. What it means that all that cost amounts to nothing. If at the end of it all, we are back to the same amount of debt stock. People must answer for this, and in due course, we will hold those people responsible for this. DDEP. The minister tried to do politics with DDEP. They have blamed the MPP government for doing DDEP and taking Ghanaians through hardship. But the minister is happy to claim the decline in the debt to GDP ratio to 45%. How did we achieve the decline? We achieved the decline because of DDEP. And so it's hypocritical. Why you will condemn a government that did the debt restructuring, and then you tend to take credit for the effect of the debt restructuring. He mentioned in his presentation that Ghana will pay 111 billion Ghana cedis in 2 years to service debts resulting from the debt restructuring. What the minister failed to say is that without the debt restructuring, Ghana would have been paying 230 billion Ghana cedis to service those debts. And so a government that has worked so hard to reduce what we would have been paying by 50%, that government is being blamed today. This is the hypocrisy we are talking about. And let me add that some of these losses are coming from the Bank of Ghana losses. Bank of Ghana has made huge losses. Recently, when they published their statement of accounts, we all heard what happened. Their net equity, negative equity, increased from 58 billion Ghana cedis to 93 billion Ghana cedis. And this was resulting from the policies of the minister. The minister has been quiet about it. He didn't say anything about it. 93 billion Ghana cedis negative equity on Bank of Ghana as a result of the minister's reckless policies. The minister was supposed to have recapitalized Bank of Ghana. And what he decided to do, first of all, was to sell the Bank of Ghana building. But after public protestation, they chickened out. Only for him to come and say he has given Bank of Ghana 5 billion Ghana cedis as part of his effort to recapitalize Bank of Ghana. You have added 35 billion Ghana cedis to the negative equity of Bank of Ghana. And you are giving them 5 billion Ghana cedis for recapitalization. You have just 2 years to leave government because the people of Ghana will vote you out. And therefore, when your reckless policies have contributed 35 billion Ghana cedis to the negative equity of Bank of Ghana, we want to read from you, Minister, comprehensive measures aimed at truly recapitalizing Bank of Ghana and not the gymnastics that we are seeing today. And we need that with timelines. Ladies and gentlemen, what they haven't also told you is that the DDEP that we did led to a significant reduction in our debt stock. Ghana's debt was so huge to the extent that today we can now boast that the debt stock has come down. How did we achieve that? After the negotiation, $5 billion of Ghana's debt stock was cancelled outrightly, cancelled from our debt stock. Another $4.7 billion was gained by Ghana as savings. This is why the debt to GDP is now 45%, and not because the minister implemented any policies. If anything, the minister has borrowed more, and they continue to borrow. Let me now come to revenue. As far as revenue is concerned, their revenue measures have not worked. They haven't worked at all because they are not meeting the target. In fact, what the minister presented there was criminal because the program revenue for half year was reduced by 2 billion Ghana cedis. in order for the minister to tell Ghanaians that he has met that target. But he's short of that target by 2 billion Ghana cedis. He brought a wrong figure to Parliament. And that is why we think that it's criminal. He's informing the people of Ghana. He's manipulating the data to look good. Whereas the facts, if you want, go and see the 2026 budget statement and look at half-year program revenue. And come and look at what he just presented today. You will see that he has reduced that program revenue by 2 billion Ghana cedis, so that he can tell Ghanaians that he has achieved the target. Revenue is not coming. They are not doing well. They are not efficient. After calling customs officials criminals for engaging in diversionary fraud, the only thing the minister could impose on customs was the AI publican system. And today he's telling us that customs revenue has increased by 15%. When we didn't have the AI, customs revenues in the past were increased by above 20%. Above 20% year on year. So what has the publican AI done after calling custom officials criminals? Ladies and gentlemen, let's now come to the issues that I think must be of concern to Ghanaians. The IMF program. Our government negotiated the IMF program. This government, the NDC, they lambasted us. They criticized us. They condemned us. But we got an IMF program with financing, $3 billion. Today, when they are touting their achievement, we've achieved stability, they have gone to negotiate an IMF program for 3 years without financing. The government that negotiated IMF program with $3 billion financing, you call that a bad government. And today you have gone to negotiate an IMF program, what we call the PCI, without financing for 3 years. Under which the IMF will continue to impose conditionalities on Ghana to supervise even how this government is working. If you think you are better managers of the economy, why do you need IMF supervision? Why do you need IMF guidance? So this is the deception we must point out to the people of Ghana. By the time we left government, we did so well as far as implementation of reforms were concerned. The minister said today that they have changed the model of economic management from the old system to a system that is now built on structural reforms. But let's look at how they fared with the structural reforms. Before we left government, we had achieved 79% implementation of the structural reforms of the IMF program. Our peers, Kenya, is doing 70% of implementation rate. Our peers, Zambia, they are doing 70%. This government, the NDC government, brought our structural reform implementation rate from 79% to 53%. That is the secret behind the PCI. Because the IMF told them that when the program exits, we will tell the people of the world that you failed in implementing the structural reforms. And they had to go and negotiate with the IMF. Don't do that. We will accept a PCI so that we can continue to implement the structural reforms under your supervision. That is why they accepted the PCI, which is a demonstration of failure on the part of this government. And so I want to ask them, what economic model have they introduced? What new economic model have they introduced? Nothing. The reality is that this mid-year budget left out some important issues that they promised the people of Ghana. Can you remember throughout the minister's presentation a single mention of the 24-hour economy? Did you hear a single mention of the 24-hour economy? No. Which is their flagship economic blueprint. And so the young people of Ghana must now know that this government is not going to give them the jobs they promised them. Did you hear throughout the minister's presentation a single mention of the 1 million coders program? No. Again, Apart from the 24-hour economy, which is about jobs for the youth, the 1 million coders program is about jobs for the youth. We didn't hear a single mention of it. The speech mentioned big push, but I can tell you that big push is not big pushing. It needs a push, because most of the contractors have already packed out of their sites due to non-payment. The minister brought himself up when he said that they have paid 6.5 billion Ghana cedis to big push contractors. You have signed contracts amounting to 70 billion Ghana cedis, and you have paid 6.5 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Minister, what are you telling the Ghanaian people? What are you telling them? And this is just half year. And then you come and boast that big push, 6.5 billion, and his colleagues will say, we have paid 70 billion Ghana cedis. You have paid 6.5 billion, and you are boasting of that, as a result of which contractors have packed out of their site. Let me now come to growth, the growth strategy. Before the statement, the Minister of Finance provided information to the effect that the minister was coming to present a growth strategy to move from stability to growth. Throughout his presentation, the minister did not mention anything relating to a growth strategy. The entire budget review was silent on a growth strategy. And so, where are the jobs going to come from, Mr. Minister? And this is why the Ghanaian people must be aware that this government has nothing to offer the Ghanaian people. They talk more, they do little. And therefore, I have no doubt that the Ghanaian people will work with us to show this government the exit in 2028. I thank you very much for your attention. My colleagues will add.
Thank you. Colleagues, I just want to highlight just a few things for your attention. In the minister's presentation, I'm sure you heard him saying that as part of their fiscal reforms, they did not introduce any new taxes. You heard him loud and clear. It is our hope that you do not have a short memory, as they are hoping that you do. Remember, they've told you that the people of Ghana have a short memory. So they can tell you anything, and they believe you would have forgotten the facts. For the records, they introduced a 2% growth and sustainability levy on the gross production of mining companies, a special import levy of 2% on cost, insurance and freight value of certain goods, and then 15% VAT on non-life insurance premiums. The fourth tax they introduced was the growth and sustainability levy for 2026, 2027, 2028. Then they also introduced the special import levy for 2026, 2027, 2028. And then the 8% Dumsor levy, the one they brought almost at midnight, before they brought the petroleum-related levies, and then what we call the fishing levy, the withdrawal of the tax exemption on marine gas oil supply to industrial fishing vessels. Those are 8 taxes that this government introduced. Yet today, the minister was telling you they hadn't introduced new taxes. Even today, if you didn't pay attention, you would have missed the fact that he introduced one more tax. Yeah. He said they are going to remove the tax exemption on bunkering. When you remove the exemption, you have introduced a tax. But this is the PR and settings that they do. They hide it in flowery language. And if you are not careful, you will not realize it. Sinamin talked about the fact that they didn't mention the numbers. This is the first time we have had a mid-year review in which the Minister of Finance refuses to mention the revenue target and actual and the expenditure target and actual. This is the first time. Because the essence of a mid-year review is that you are going to review how you have performed target to actual. We are in a community of reading men, and so we read. Go to Appendix A, and he tried to hide it there. 2A, he tried to hide it there. The revenue target for the year is 268 billion. Half year is supposed to be 134 billion. You know what the minister did? That's what Minister Amin was referring to. He deliberately understated it that half year is supposed to be 126 billion. So that when he tells you that his half year actual is 124, you will think he has only missed it by 2 billion. But actually, the difference between 134 billion and 124 billion is 10 billion. That is a 7% shortfall on revenue. Yesterday, when we met you, we told you that they are manufacturing the primary balance and the overall fiscal balance. And we'll prove to you. When you go to the expenditure side, what he couldn't mention on the floor, the one is hidden in the appendices. Total expenditure is 302 billion. Half year is supposed to be 158. That 158 includes the 35 Agenda 111 buildings they promised to do. It includes some of the contractors that they are supposed to pay under big push. It includes their flagship programs like the 1 million coders, Jumerura, 24-hour economy, all of those ones. You will be heartbroken to find out that half year 158 billion, they have actually only released 127 billion. The difference is 31 billion Ghana cedis. You know what 31 billion Ghana cedis can do to create jobs, to impact lives? And that's a 20% shortfall on expenditure. This is how they are manufacturing the overall balance. This is how he's able to now tell you that, oh, the deficit is now this way and the primary balance is now this way, because he's suppressing expenditure in the most critical sectors. I just want to speak about two other issues and then I'll yield to my colleague. The minister also looked the people of Ghana in the face and told us that this is the first time that the Ghanaian economy has hit about $100 billion. Literally, if you do the conversion, about 1 trillion Ghana cedis. In 2024, we went past that mark. We went past 1 trillion in 2024. Why would you look the people of Ghana in the face and tell us this blatant untruth? It is because they are hoping that you will forget the figures. But we on this side of the house, we pay attention to the details. This is the first time that the minister has mentioned growth. Yes, 6.4, but has not been able to disaggregate that growth and tell you the sources. Remember yesterday we told you that if you disaggregate, it is mostly because of gold, reliance on high gold prices. And that in the minister's own accounting that he did, he said that if your growth is based on gold, it's a galamsey economy. He knows that if he tells you the disaggregated sources, you will figure out that what they are applauding themselves for is a reliance on gold. And so, colleagues, we are here to tell you that just as we mentioned at the beginning prior to this, they are manufacturing the balances, they are not delivering on their programs. I yield to my colleague, Honorable Abner, to make a few more submissions and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think they've said it all. But what I also want to put across is that you heard the minister say that we are going to reallocate this amount of money, we are going to reallocate that amount of money. But let me tell you, for 2026, the budget is sealed. So he didn't even tell us that the 400 million Ghana cedis that he said he was going to reallocate, he didn't even show us where it's going to come from. It is just about talk. You go to the appendices, you find out the numbers, you see the numbers. All the long talk is the appendices that will tell you whether truly that is going to happen or it is not going to happen. All that he said today, I'm going to add 1,000 kilometers of road. Go and check the appendices and see whether the budget, the numbers supports an extra 1,000 kilometers. The numbers have been sealed already. It was sealed in November 2025 when the 2026 budget came into was passed in Parliament. So these are some of the things that we want you to go and look at. Don't just take, the talk as he said it, but go and look in the numbers. And finally, my former minister mentioned the fact that already Bank of Ghana had spent $900 million on gold board. When you look in the mid-year budget review, it also gives you your 2025 actuals. And in 2025, the 2025 actuals, for the last quarter, the Minister for Finance spent another $297 million on gold board, translating into 4.5 billion Ghana cedis. Let's ask them, what is this at all with gold board that is siphoning so much money from us? $900 million from Bank of Ghana and $297 million from the Ministry of Finance. That is one thing I expect the journalists to go in there and find out from them what exactly is happening there. That from Bank of Ghana, you are siphoning $900 million, and then from Ministry of Finance, $297 million. Just in the last quarter. When I say the last quarter of 2025, I mean October, November, December of 2025. And that is worrying. And I expect our journalists and the people who really think and care about this nation to go and find out what is it that is happening at the gold board that BOG incurs 900 million, Ministry of Finance also incurs 297 billion. And the minister also mentioned the fact that the Fiscal Council and the Value for Money offices are already making impacts. These two offices haven't been set up at all. So how come they haven't been set up, yet their impacts have been reflected in the statement he made today? Settings. Please, let's listen, let's open our eyes, let's ask questions. The Value for Money bill has been passed, all right. The Fiscal Council, yes, we know about it, but it hasn't been formed. So how come you are able to say that both the Value for Money office and the Fiscal Council is already making impact to the tune that can reflect in the economy? Clearly, there's nothing like that. So when you are asking these questions, these are some of the things I expect you to also answer. And then when you look at, the minister kept mentioning, the fiscal policy that they have introduced, they are trying to live within their means. And then here is an agency under the Ministry of Finance, that is Ghana Revenue Authority. Parliament voted for you to spend 5.1 billion in 2025, and guess what? They added an extra 100 million. As there's an adage which says that, so if you want to check people going over and above their expenditure, it should come from your own home. And then your own home cannot happen to, purports to be living within their means and spend extra 100 million that Parliament did not vote for GRA. These are some of the things we expect the journalists to also ask the minister. That you say, yes, you are living within your means. How come an agency under you, an agency that you manage, has gone over and above their budget for 2025 by over 100 billion? That is very important. Even 1 million is so much money. How much more of a 100 million? This is something you should think about, and this is something you should also ask the minister. But I think in the coming days, we will come up with quite a number of issues that we have noticed in this 2026 budget. I want to tell you that the numbers for 2026 are sealed. So whatever the minister came here to say concerning monies that they are going to reallocate, monies that they are going to use for anything, it is not the case, because the 2026 budget are sealed, and the minister did not come with a supplementary budget. If he had come with a supplementary budget, that is when he could have added on more finance, more expenditure. But there's nothing like that. So once there's no supplementary budget, there are no added additional revenues, and the revenues are even performing very poorly. So once there's nothing like that, the reallocation, I'm doing 1,000 kilometers of road, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, it's all talk, and the numbers do not speak to that. Thank you very much.